And in 1995, I was in a psychiatric institution with major anxiety disorder, panic disorder, PTSD, and depression. So welcome to the conference. I'm so happy you're here.
And so I don't mean to be flip, I really don't, but it's my story and I'm not ashamed, I'm not embarrassed. It's why I'm here with you today.
I am Tammy West, and that is my story. Welcome to Consider Yourself Hugged, a place to find comfort and support as you navigate your mental and emotional well-being. So sit back and relax, unless you're driving, and get ready for this week's hug.
So here we go. Hello.
Hello.
I'm thinking the first thing we should probably mention, in case any of you listening do occasionally jump over to YouTube. We are not doing YouTube this week. We don't know what we're going to do going forward, but I'm in a hotel. I tried to, like, the lighting, I don't have my camera. It's just not good. So you're just hearing us today, not seeing us, which also means we get to, well, Michelle looks good, but I don't have on any makeup or anything. So.
Don't let her fool you. She still looks good.
Yeah, right. That's just because you love me. So yeah, I think when we left last time, we talked about, we thought we might do the sleep thing. I don't know if we mentioned to you all that we thought about doing, talking about books. Did we mention that to them maybe a few weeks ago?
No.
I don't know. No. Okay. Well, I don't know if you've thought of it. So that's what we're going to do, by the way. And we'll clarify all the details in a second. But I don't know if you thought about it this way, but so when we did the positive psychology, and I know one of the things that both of us said is we wanted to incorporate like more fun, and honestly, like reading, even though reading is part of the other things that, like, our values assessment, we both like learning. And so that's part of that. But it's just, for me, it's fun. And so this gives us another opportunity to do that. Did you think of it that way?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a great way to discuss lots of life topics, to review books and how they affected you, and like to see how someone else perceived something differently. And like along the process, we would love to hear from all of you as well. I mean, we may
Yes.
even like post some like discussion type things in the Consider Yourself Hugged Facebook page, just
Yeah, that's a
different
great idea.
thoughts related to the book, so we can kind of make sure we're incorporating your thoughts and questions too about the book.
I love that. And I don't know about you, but does it make you feel like, I don't know, smart or smarter to say that you have a favorite author? I love I don't know. I just think it makes me feel like, I don't know, special to say, yeah, I have a favorite author. I have a favorite book. But it makes me want to do more. Do you feel that way, or am I just being like stupid?
No, not that you say it. Yeah, I can definitely see and feel that. I know that like it definitely is something that brings me joy, brings me peace, and I need to do more of it when it comes to reading. I also enjoy audiobooks, Audible,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and all of those things.
I do a combination of that too, like Audible and reading. And so we don't know, by the way, like, we don't know. We thought about telling you, okay, we're going to do this for 4 weeks or 5 weeks, but we don't know. And we want to do a combination of, like, today, what we're going to do is just talk about however many we want to, like the first, and maybe a couple of podcasts too, at least from my end, that I like to listen to. But we want to talk about a few of the books that really impacted us. And then we'll talk about at least the first one that we're going to do, like a week, the first two maybe. So that'll give you like a heads up if you want to go read or listen. But also, you won't have to. Like, if you don't have time, it doesn't mean don't listen. We're just going to talk about like lessons, and things that we learned and things like that were helpful, things that spoke to us. So it'll still be good. Did I say that right?
Yes, yeah, I'm so excited. It is an online book club.
Yeah, it is. And so, and yeah, another reason, like Michelle said, that we don't want to say we're going to do it for however many weeks is because maybe you all will post some books and things that you would like to do. And so that we'll just do it until it feels like we need to just transition and do something different. So let's start with you, Michelle, because you just finished one. So
I did. I just finished one, and I think we decided that that would be the first one that
yes.
we reviewed, and then you just finished one, and we're going to do that the next time. And they could not be probably two more different books. But the book I just finished was From Here to the Great Unknown. It was written by Lisa Marie Presley and Riley Keough. Riley Keough is Lisa Marie Presley's daughter. And so I'm excited about talking about some different things from that book next week. There are many things and insights from it. She talks about her marriage to Michael Jackson, Nicolas Cage, what it
Oh,
was
she was
like
married to
growing up with
Nicolas Cage.
Elvis. She was married to Nicolas Cage, what it was like growing up with Elvis, what it's like to lose Elvis. And so, super
Wow.
interesting and different perspectives. And so, as someone who, was definitely can remember like the marriage to Michael Jackson and Nicolas Cage and the different
I don't
things that
remember that.
happened. And when that happened, I don't want to talk too much this week about it, but when that happened, when she married Michael Jackson, there were lots of different opinions about what was really going on. And so, yeah, really excited. It's an if you do Audible, if you do audiobooks, it's about 5 hours of listening. So it's not super long to listen to and finish, but that will be next
And we'll
week.
put links. We'll put links to Audible and Amazon.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. And so that's the last one I did. Do we want to go kind of back and forth like with doing me doing one and then you doing one?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's it. And I asked you this question the other day when we were talking about it, but I don't remember what you said. Or I might have said, "Oh, don't answer. Wait until we're like," because we do that all the time. It's like, "Oh no, stop." Like what what caused you or led you to get that book? I always think it's interesting. Like I have a specific reason I got this book, but do you
Really, so it came up as a suggestion. I wasn't listening to anything else.
huh,
And so there were just some things that I had thought about. And also, like, I have seen a couple of things that Riley Keough is in. And so I did the Audible book. And Julia Roberts reads
really?
Lisa Marie's parts that she wrote. And then Riley Keough, of course, reads the parts that she wrote. Riley Keough finished the book after Lisa Marie Presley died. And so there's those things. And in the Audible book, you also hear different like recorded interviews with Lisa Marie. So the Audible book is really good for having all of those things. And so just kind of from this suggestion and I had some time, I thought, well, that might be interesting. And so sometimes
Yeah.
I am very intentional about the books I pick and what I want to read. And then other times it's just, oh, I've got some time. I'm would love something to listen to while I'm doing X, Y, or Z. Part of this, I was taking down my Christmas decorations. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it was as simple as that as to what led me to that book this time.
I love that. And I don't think I told you this. So actually to you all out there, I have like five Michelles in my life. I think I've told you that before, but um Michelle is my Michelle, this Michelle. But there's a Michelle I go to church with, and I think she listens. So Michelle Spence, sorry, Michelle Spence Holman, I'm calling you out. We go to church together, and she's a teacher. And I was talking to her husband probably in like September or October at church, and she wasn't there yet. He had to get there early. And he was telling me, I knew she loved to read, but at that point, so September, October, I think he said she had read like 60 books. So I am definitely going to contact her and get some recommendations. I have a lot of friends who love to read. And
That's
the
awesome.
fact, like, yeah. And so the recommendation one pops up. I'm trying to think if I've ever bought a book because it just popped up as a recommendation. But you saying that makes me want to pay attention.
We should probably also, I should also mention, with this book, like we should probably put if there's a language alert. There is
Oh, yeah,
some
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
um
Disturbing.
cursing. Yeah, no,
Oh,
there's some
cursing.
cursing in the book. Do people even still say that word anymore? Is cursing still? I
Cursing?
don't know. Yes,
I
there is
think so.
some and so just to kind of give you, there's a language alert with the book. I'm just one of those, I don't often notice it. I don't speak that way, but at the same time, I'm not offended by it. So it's not something that like I notice a lot, but I do know that I want people to know that that is present in some of the books. So I don't want that to be a shock or surprise.
That's, yeah, I agree. I think when I mentioned way back when, in fact, one of my podcasts, I'll just go ahead and mention it, is Wiser Than Me, Julia Louis Dreyfus. I love her podcast. She interviews women who are older than her, and the F bombs fly
Yeah,
constantly,
right.
and the topics are sometimes even a little bit like, okay, whoa. But I still, I just, I learned so much from it. So typically it's not her guests, it's her. So, you know,
Yeah.
that are just a little colorful in their language. So, okay. So our first one, and I just, full disclosure, I have not read or listened to, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, probably Audible, because right now I'm in just near Chicago. And when I drive home, it's like 6.5, 7 hours. So I'm probably going to listen to it on my way home. So that's probably what I'll do. So you said that the second book could not be more different. So your book is nonfiction. My book is nonfiction as well. And it is The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom. It, first of all, is much longer, by the way. It's like 9 hours. Um, I'm not sure. It's one that I'm listening to as well. So I don't really know what that translates to pages wise. But I picked it because my pastor in my church quoted something from it a couple months ago. And I'm very, what is the word? I hate to say I love the Holocaust because that sounds terrible. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm very interested.
Fascinated.
I'm fascinated, I'm fascinated. And I joke all the time, I mean, about being Jewish. You all have probably heard when I did my 23andMe, and it made sense to me that my grandmother, great grandmother, was 100% Jewish. So I'm 20% Ashkenazi Jewish, but even before that. So I haven't traced my roots back a lot to see. Um, but it's just always been fascinating to me. And Corrie ten Boom lived in Holland, and the first part of the book is about her growing up, and then she and her family wind up hiding Jews during the Holocaust, and that's what the book is about. And I love it. And it, like you said, completely different, I'm assuming, from what you read. Corrie ten Boom was, I think, I mean, it's a blatantly, it's not a Bible book, but I mean, that was their life. Her father preached, and at least in her home, I think her brother's was a pastor. I mean, she passed years ago. Um, but just the lessons, it's such a sweet book. And just to hear about how they put their faith in God through this whole entire time. I'm not sure how many Jews they harbored, rescued and saved their lives. I'm not quite finished with the book yet, but that's why I picked it, and I'm so excited. It is longer though. It's 9 hours. So are you up for it?
I'm super excited to listen to it, especially now that I feel like I need to redeem myself. You're reading about people like hiding people in the Holocaust. I'm reading about Lisa Marie marrying Michael Jackson.
No, I mean, it's autobiography or biographies, autobiographies, all that stuff is just super interesting. So no, I can't wait to hear about yours. So yeah, and while Michelle and I were sitting here talking, and I was looking up, um, just the length of the book, I didn't realize that she wrote a couple of other books, at least two, In My Father's House and Tramp for the Lord. I don't know what that means, um, but I'm just real excited to do it. So those are our first two. Do you want to talk about a couple more that are on your list, or what do you want? What do you
Yeah,
think?
so I have like some books and the podcast from this year. I have some just kind of throughout the last several years that have been really impactful. Did you want to stick with just this year or just in general books that have been impactful?
I I did not I don't have a long list. I only have four, and then I have a few podcasts, but I did not stick to just this year.
Oh, okay. All right.
I just pulled out the ones that I knew were super special to me.
So then the first one I'll talk about is The Nightingale. And I would love to do
That's on my list. You know
yes,
that.
a book club on that Nightingale. I have mentioned before, actually many times, that I read The Nightingale during 2020 during the COVID like quarantine,
Lockdown.
the
Yeah.
lockdown, yes. And so with that, reading about because at that time, I mean, obviously, having never been through something like a lockdown before, it was very unusual. There were a lot of things in life that changed that you have to give up, but nothing compared to what individuals back in World War II
Mhm.
were going through, and so the Nightingale is about two sisters, and it's a Kristen Hanna book. It's a wonderful book, and it was just really impactful to me in terms of what they went through, the courage, the strength of these women, and what a difference they made,
Yeah.
and just the concept of gratitude. So the Nightingale is on my list, and so as you said, it's also on your list. So I'll let you talk about it.
No, I mean I don't. The Nightingale is actually my all-time favorite book, and Kristen Hanna is my favorite author. So I've read three or four other of her book. I didn't put I I've loved every book of hers that I've read. Um, but I didn't put one of her other books on my list just because I was trying to look at some diverse things. But it's been a while since I read it. Probably, I think I read it when Tim and I were living in California. So that's been about 8 years ago. So I'm super excited to reread it um, whenever we decide to do that one. So yeah, I'm really excited. Got it on my bookshelf. I knew we were going to talk about it, so I'm ready for it.
Wonderful.
Okay, I have one of my other, she is for sure my favorite author, but another author I love is Jodi Picoult. Do you know her?
I remember the name, but I don't remember what books has she written.
So there's several, but the one that I have on my list is called Before We Were Yours. And um, I particularly love historical fiction. So this is, so, okay. What's the name of the Lisa Marie Presley book? You're going to have to send it to because I keep forgetting.
From Here to the Great Unknown.
From Here to the Great Unknown and then The Hiding Place are both like nonfiction stories. And then The Nightingale, historical fiction. Before We Were Yours is also historical fiction. So it's been a while since I read that one as well. But it actually occurred in the Memphis area, I think. It is about um, some people who discovered that they were actually sold as children. So there was a home, and I think it was in Memphis, Tennessee, but don't quote me on it. Again, it's been a long time since I read it, but I've always remembered it. And these children were actually stolen from their families and placed into like this children's home, and then they were sold to wealthy families. And it's a true story. I mean, it's historical fiction, but it's based on a true story. So we actually drove by. The home isn't there anymore, but there's a marker um, there that shows where that home was. And so I don't know, things like that. These are heavy things too. We should probably pick a couple of more lighthearted books at some point.
couple
But
more
those
Lisa
things just,
Marie and Michael Jackson books.
yeah, well, even that is pretty heavy though, isn't
It
it?
is a heavy book too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So when we're look at your list, do you have any like lighthearted? Yeah, I don't have any lighthearted things on my book. That is so funny. Um, well, that's okay. And by the way, just back to Jodi Picoult also wrote, and I loved Leaving Time. We'll put links to um, 19 Minutes, which is about a school shooting, Small Great Things, My Sister's Keeper. Anyway, those are all books that I have loved. But before
That's
we,
see, I have seen My Sister's Keeper. I didn't read the book, but I have seen there's a movie, and I did see that. So yeah, that's yeah.
did I know there was a movie? And there is a The Hiding Place. There was a movie in the 70s, and then there was another one, I think this decade. So I'm gonna watch it when I'm done. But anyway, okay, before we were yours, that was my next one. Um, let's each maybe talk about one more. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that
Okay.
that sounds great. I'm going to talk about one from this year that I've listened to fairly recently. I also listened to this one on Audible as well, um, called The Year of Yes that Shonda Rhimes wrote. And it's a book
You told me
about,
about that.
yes, it is a book about how, based on something her sister said to her, she committed for an entire year to say yes to things that she typically knew she would have said no to. And so Shonda Rhimes, if you're not familiar with her, she wrote Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, How
She's
to Get Away with
yeah.
Murder. I think now she does Bridgerton. So
Oh
lots and
yeah,
lots,
Bridgerton.
lots and lots of things. And so in the book, she talks about how, these all came out of her imagination. By nature, she's very much an introvert, and as a child, she spent a lot of time playing alone, kind of creating her own worlds and so forth. And she talks about like playing in a pantry where like cans and all of these things were her playmates. They were the world she built and all of that. And so she kind of translated that into, you know, creating worlds writing and so forth. But as an introvert, as she became more popular, she was getting all of these invitations to go
Mm.
and do things. And she would immediately say no out of,
I
just
feel
that,
her. Yeah.
yeah, just out of
Yeah.
that social um, anxiety introvert, like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so for a year, she committed to saying yes to things like speaking at an Ivy League commencement, um,
Wow, yeah.
doing some interviews she never would have done before. And so it was really good kind of to hear her perspective as she walked through and how that changed her life.
I'm excited you put that on your list because I remember when you were listening to it, and you were talking about it, and I'm so glad we're doing this because I don't feel like either one of us need to be necessarily pushed into like spending more time doing this, but maybe we do a little bit just to
Oh,
like
I
when
know
I
I
hear
do. Yeah.
Michelle has done 60 books and she has a job, she teaches, and I'm like, it's so, I mean, it's little bits of time here and there when you have,
Mhm.
it's part of that self-care. It really is, and it gives
Absolutely.
me such joy.
And I'm going to add one more after you go because I think in
Okay.
kind of line with what you were saying about doing something a little more fun. It's still a thriller book, but it's not like a
Well, go
necessarily a
ahead, tell us.
heavy book.
Tell us.
So I read, and it was a couple years ago, I read The Silent Patient.
The what?
It's
Silent?
called The Silent Patient. Yes.
Okay.
And so it's a thriller. And so it kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole time. But it's not a biography. It's not about real people. It's not based on anything real. So I feel like that is more of an entertainment type book.
I like that. And I'm just scrolling through some of the other Audible ones but I don't have anything that's just like lighthearted and not, but that's okay. Because here's what I'm saying is this is what I'm committing to. After we get through some of these, or we don't know what order we're doing. We know the first 2 weeks so that you all will have a chance to listen or read or whatever you do. But then from there, we can go whichever direction we want. So we need to do, I know that like, I think I have a book at home. I can't remember, it was a female comedian who wrote it. And even though it's like an autobiography, I remember getting it because people said it was funny. So something, you know. Okay, well, here's my last one. I'm going to partner it with a podcast. So my last one, you've heard me talk about a lot, is not, it's not a story-based thing. It's a research book called Chatter. And it's by Ethan Kross. And I'm partnering with where I heard about it, and that is the Hidden Brain podcast. The Hidden Brain let me talk about that first. Hidden Brain podcast has been just monumental for me because it's all brain stuff, emotions, thoughts, mental health. It's all brain stuff. And his guests are typically researchers and authors. And that's where I learned about the book Chatter. And that book really changed me a lot. And he defines, if you all haven't heard me talk about it before, he defines chatter as when your mind spirals. So he talks about how we all have self-talk, all of us do, and how there's so many people who talk about mindfulness is like quieting your mind, but and just not having external thoughts, and that's never going to happen unless you have a stroke, or so. I mean, we always have thoughts, but chatter is when those thoughts spiral, when you obsess about something. And what I love the most about it is he really gives these concrete tools. So I definitely want to cover that as like, rather than just talking about it bits and pieces here and there. I would love for that to be one of our books.
Wonderful.
So yeah. And then I do want to throw as far as podcasts, because even though I don't have any books that are just sort of whatever, I do love Crime Junkie as a podcast. So I think there are probably better ones. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. What I mean is I don't like to listen to the episodes that don't have a resolution. So if the title is missing, Jane Doe or whatever, I won't listen to it because I want to know the resolution. But it's two women and they go back and forth. And so I do love, I don't want to call it mindless, but just a little bit of entertainment. So I have that.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
that's a good start, don't you think?
I think so. I'm excited. I have, so we'll start on The Hiding Place next week. We're doing From Here to the Great Unknown, and the week after we'll do The Hiding Place.
You know what is the worst thing is, I mean, I think you and I have similar tastes and interests, but you know how especially with Tim, like if he says, "Oh, you have to watch this or listen or whatever, or read this," and I'm like, "Yeah, it was good," and he's like, "What do you mean?" "Yeah, it was good. It was great." So it'll be interesting to see how we both feel about these two books and everybody else out there. Maybe you'll love the Lisa Marie one and you won't love the Corrie ten Boom or vice versa, but that's the fun of it all.
Well, it's so good to hear different perspectives from, like from different people on the same book. The last book club I did, and I loved it. I loved being in it, but it ended up being 3 psychiatric nurse practitioners, a therapist, and then a an office administrator and a finance person. And so that's a
It
lot
sounds
of
like
mental
you're
health
about to tell a
people.
joke. It sounds like you're about to tell a joke. 3 nurse
No,
practitioners.
no, but like I think it was interesting. It was always the most interesting to hear a perspective, that was outside of, because, you got all those mental health people, you're going to look at it from one direction. It was so interesting to hear other people's perspective. Probably not interesting for those people. I don't know.
No, I'm sure it was, and I'm so excited we decided to go this route. And I feel like I was thinking, oh well, we should tell everybody what the format will be, but we don't really know. So um,
I feel like at
let's
this point,
just
they know we don't know. Like, because most
yeah,
everything we're like, well, we don't know.
we don't know.
I think they know. We don't know, but
Okay, we don't know,
yeah.
but we do know this. We will post the books we've talked about today with the links. We will make sure we post which ones we're going to do next week and the week after. And Michelle and I will both talk over the week about something that's lighthearted and funny. But really, the funnest thing is to get recommendations from you too, like all these other people who are out there listening. So let us know, just give us some suggestions because that's how we discover books is, hearing from other people and I'm going to get a hold of my other Michelle and get some suggestions from her.
Wonderful.
Okie
I'm
dokie.
excited.
Me too. Well, I don't have anything else. Do you?
No, me either.
Okay. All right, everybody. More than ever, please give us some comments because this could really dictate the direction of how we go. So let us know what you're thinking. Michelle talked about posting in the Facebook group. So if you're not a part of that, and listen, I know we're not super active in it and I want to do better. It's just, I don't know. I haven't been great on social media, but I'm going to try to make a commitment and post your comments, follow us, hang out with us there, take care of yourselves, download, rate, listen, share, all those things. And until we see you next week,
Consider yourself hugged.
Bye.
Bye.